Train your mind to notice the good in life, because the direction of your attention determines the direction of your destiny. Every single day, you are surrounded by opportunities, blessings, lessons, and silent victories, yet most people fail to see them. Not because they are absent, but because their minds have been conditioned to search for problems instead of possibilities. This is not a matter of circumstance. It is a matter of mental discipline. The untrained mind naturally drifts toward fear, doubt, and dissatisfaction, but the trained mind becomes a powerful instrument that extracts strength, hope, and advantage from every situation. Understand this with absolute clarity. Your mind is not your master unless you allow it to be. It is a tool, and like any tool, its effectiveness depends entirely on how you use it. If you allow it to wander without direction, it will magnify every inconvenience, every failure, every disappointment. But when you deliberately command it to recognize the good, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to see solutions where others see obstacles. You begin to feel strength where others feel weakness. You start to build momentum while others remain stuck in hesitation. There is a hidden law at work here, one that governs the results you experience in life. Whatever you consistently focus on expands in your awareness. When you focus on negativity, your world appears filled with limitations. When you focus on what is working, your mind begins to uncover pathways that were previously invisible. This is not imagination, this is mental conditioning. The human mind is designed to follow patterns. And once you establish a pattern of noticing the good, it becomes automatic. It becomes your default way of thinking. And that is where true power lies. Most people wait for something great to happen before they allow themselves to feel grateful or optimistic. That is a mistake that keeps them trapped in mediocrity. The truth is reversed. You must first develop the ability to recognize the good, and only then will greater things begin to appear in your life. Gratitude is not a reaction. It is a decision. It is a deliberate act of focusing on what you have instead of what you lack. And when you make that decision consistently, you elevate your emotional state, sharpen your perception, and strengthen your belief in what is possible. You must become ruthless with your mental focus. Do not allow your mind to dwell on what cannot be changed. Do not give energy to complaints, excuses, or comparisons. Every moment spent in negativity is a moment stolen from your potential. Instead, train yourself to extract value from every experience. Even in difficulty, there is a lesson. Even in failure, there is growth. Even in delay, there is preparation. When you adopt this mindset, you become unstoppable because nothing is wasted. Every situation becomes fuel for your progress. The strongest individuals are not those who have perfect lives, but those who have mastered their perception. They have trained themselves to see opportunity where others see defeat. They have conditioned their minds to remain focused on what can be done rather than what has gone wrong. This is not blind optimism. It is strategic thinking. It is the conscious choice to direct your attention toward what empowers you instead of what weakens you. Make a decision today that you will no longer allow your mind to operate on autopilot. Take control of it. Discipline it. Command it to serve your highest vision. Begin by noticing the smallest positives in your daily life because small victories build powerful momentum. The more you train your mind to see the good, the more natural it becomes until eventually it transforms the way you think, the way you act, and the results you create. This is how success begins, not with external changes, but with internal alignment, not with luck, but with focus, not with chance, but with conscious control. Train your mind, and you train your life. Your mind is not a passive observer of reality. It is the architect of everything you experience. And the moment you understand that it obeys what you train it to see, you unlock a level of control that most people never reach in their entire lifetime. Every thought you repeatedly entertain becomes a command. Every focus you sustain becomes a direction. And every mental habit you tolerate becomes a permanent filter through which you view the world. If your mind has been conditioned to see problems, it will find them everywhere. If it has been trained to recognize opportunity, it will uncover paths where others see dead ends. This is not coincidence. This is conditioning. From the moment you wake up each day, your mind begins scanning your environment, searching for evidence that matches its dominant programming. It does not question whether that programming is useful or destructive. It simply follows orders. If you have allowed negativity, doubt, and fear to become your default pattern, then your mind will faithfully present you with reasons to hesitate, reasons to complain, and reasons to believe that progress is impossible. But the powerful truth is this: the same mind that traps you can be retrained to elevate you. You must become intentional about what you allow your mind to focus on, because attention is the most valuable currency you possess. Wherever your attention goes, your energy follows, and whatever receives your energy begins to grow in influence over your life. When you focus on limitations, you strengthen them. When you focus on possibilities, you expand them. This is why two individuals can face the same circumstances, yet produce completely different outcomes. One has trained their mind to see obstacles, while the other has trained their mind to see advantage. There is no neutral state in this process. You are either conditioning your mind to empower you or conditioning it to weaken you. Every complaint you repeat reinforces a negative pattern. Every moment of gratitude strengthens a positive one. Every time you dwell on failure, you deepen the habit of defeat. Every time you search for a lesson, you build resilience. The mind learns through repetition, and what you repeat becomes your reality. Most people underestimate the power of small, consistent thoughts. They believe that transformation requires dramatic action, when in truth it begins with subtle mental shifts. The simple act of choosing to notice what is working instead of what is lacking begins to rewire your perception. At first, it may feel unnatural, even forced, because your mind is accustomed to its old patterns. But with persistence, the new pattern takes hold, and what once required effort becomes automatic. You must also understand that your environment does not control your thinking unless you surrender that control. External circumstances will always present challenges, uncertainties, and moments of discomfort. But the meaning you assign to those experiences is entirely within your power. You can interpret difficulty as proof of limitation, or you can interpret it as an opportunity for growth. You can see setbacks as failures, or you can see them as feedback guiding you toward improvement. The event itself is neutral. Your perception gives it power. This is where discipline becomes essential. Training your mind is not a one-time decision. It is a daily commitment. It requires vigilance, awareness, and the willingness to interrupt negative patterns the moment they appear. When doubt enters your mind, you must challenge it. When negativity attempts to take control, you must redirect your focus. When your thoughts begin to drift toward fear, you must anchor them in purpose. This is the work that separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who remain stuck in cycles of frustration. You are not at the mercy of your thoughts. You are the authority over them. But authority without action is meaningless. You must actively choose what you allow to occupy your mind. You must deliberately expose yourself to ideas, environments, and influences that strengthen your vision rather than weaken it. You must protect your mental space with the same intensity that you would protect something of great value, because your mind is the source of everything you will ever create. As you continue to train your mind to notice the good, something remarkable begins to happen. Your confidence increases, not because your circumstances suddenly become perfect, but because your perception becomes stronger. You begin to trust yourself more, take action more consistently, and respond to challenges with greater clarity. Opportunities that once seemed invisible start to appear, not because they were created in that moment, but because your mind has finally been trained to recognize them. This is the turning point where transformation becomes inevitable. When your mind is aligned with growth, possibility, and purpose, your actions naturally follow that direction. You stop hesitating, you stop doubting, and you stop waiting for external validation. Instead, you move forward with certainty, guided by a mindset that has been carefully and deliberately constructed. Train your mind with intention, because it is always learning, always adapting, and always shaping the reality you experience. Whether you realize it or not, it is already obeying something. The only question is whether it is obeying patterns that limit you or patterns that empower you. Your focus is the invisible force that controls your emotional state, and the moment you understand that what you consistently concentrate on determines how you feel, how you act, and ultimately how you live. You begin to reclaim a level of power that most people unknowingly surrender every single day. Emotions are not random. They are responses triggered by the direction of your attention. If your mind is fixed on problems, your emotions will reflect stress, frustration, and doubt. If your attention is directed toward progress, solutions, and growth, your emotional state begins to shift toward confidence, clarity, and strength. This is not chance, this is control. Every moment your mind is selecting something to focus on, and that selection is shaping your internal experience. The majority of people never question this process. They allow their focus to drift toward whatever is loudest, easiest, or most familiar, and as a result, they become emotionally reactive instead of mentally intentional. They blame circumstances for how they feel without realizing that their focus on those circumstances is what gives them emotional power in the first place. What you focus on expands, not only in your awareness, but in your emotional intensity. If you choose to focus on what is missing in your life, you will feel lack. If you focus on what has gone wrong, you will feel discouraged. If you fixate on uncertainty, you will feel anxious. But when you deliberately shift your focus toward what is working, even in small amounts, you begin to generate a different emotional response. You feel progress, you feel possibility, you feel control. This is the foundation of emotional strength, not the absence of difficulty, but the mastery of focus. You must recognize that focus is a skill, and like any skill, it requires training and discipline. The mind is naturally drawn to negativity because it is conditioned for survival, constantly scanning for threats and problems. But survival thinking does not create success. It keeps you cautious, hesitant, and reactive. To elevate your life, you must override this default pattern and consciously direct your attention toward what empowers you. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means choosing how you interpret and respond to it. There is a profound difference between experiencing a challenge and becoming consumed by it. When your focus locks onto the negative aspects of a situation, your emotions intensify and your ability to think clearly diminishes. You begin to feel overwhelmed, and in that state, your actions become limited. But when you shift your focus even slightly toward what can be done, toward what can be learned, toward what remains within your control, your emotional state begins to stabilize. You regain clarity, and with clarity comes effective action. Understand that emotional power is not about feeling good all the time. It is about maintaining control over your internal state regardless of external conditions. It is the ability to redirect your focus when negativity attempts to dominate your thinking. It is the strength to refuse to dwell on thoughts that weaken you and instead concentrate on those that strengthen your resolve. This is what separates those who collapse under pressure from those who rise above it. Every time you allow your focus to remain on something that drains your energy, you are reinforcing a pattern of weakness. Every time you redirect your attention towards something constructive, you are building a pattern of strength. These patterns compound over time. The person who consistently focuses on problems becomes emotionally fragile, easily overwhelmed by challenges. The person who trains their focus on solutions becomes emotionally resilient, capable of navigating difficulty with composure and determination. You must become aware of where your focus goes, especially in moments of stress or uncertainty. That is where your training is tested. It is easy to maintain positive focus when everything is going well, but true mastery is revealed when circumstances are difficult. In those moments, your ability to control your focus determines whether you escalate negativity or create stability. This is a decision you must make consciously, repeatedly, until it becomes automatic. Do not underestimate the impact of this practice. When you control your focus, you control your emotions. When you control your emotions, you control your actions. And when you control your actions, you control your results. Everything begins with attention. It is the starting point of all progress and the root of all setbacks. Left unmanaged, it will lead you into cycles of negativity. Directed with intention, it will guide you toward growth and achievement. You are not powerless in the face of your emotions. You are the source of them, shaped by what you choose to give your attention to. This realization should not be taken lightly because it places responsibility directly in your hands. You can no longer blame external factors for your internal state once you understand that your focus is the true driver behind it. Train your focus with precision, guard it with discipline, direct it with purpose, because wherever your attention goes, your emotional power will follow, and that power will either build your life or quietly break it, depending on what you choose to see. Gratitude is not a passive emotion. It is a force that multiplies advantage. And the moment you deliberately train yourself to recognize and appreciate what already exists in your life, you begin activating a level of power that most people overlook, while endlessly chasing what they believe is missing. The majority remain trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction because they have conditioned their minds to measure life by absence rather than presence, constantly focusing on what they lack, what they have not achieved, and what others seem to possess. This mental habit does not motivate progress. It weakens it because it creates a state of emotional scarcity where nothing ever feels sufficient. Gratitude breaks that pattern by shifting your attention toward value, and wherever value is recognized, it expands. Your mind operates on a principle of amplification. Whatever you repeatedly acknowledge becomes more visible, more significant, and more influential in your thinking. When you practice gratitude, you are not simply listing positive aspects of your life. You are training your perception to identify strength, opportunity, and progress. This shift may appear subtle, but its impact is profound. Instead of feeling deprived, you begin to feel equipped. Instead of seeing obstacles as barriers, you start seeing them as situations you are capable of handling. This change in perception directly influences your confidence, and confidence is the foundation of decisive action. Gratitude does not eliminate ambition. It refines it. It does not make you complacent. It makes you effective. When you appreciate what you have, you operate from a position of strength rather than desperation. Desperation leads to poor decisions, rushed actions, and unstable thinking. Strength, on the other hand, creates clarity, patience, and strategic movement. The individual who is grounded in gratitude is not distracted by comparison or consumed by frustration. They are focused, composed, and prepared to take consistent action toward their goals. There is a hidden advantage in gratitude that most people fail to recognize. It sharpens your awareness of resources that are already available to you. Opportunities are often overlooked, not because they are rare, but because they are unrecognized. When your mind is fixated on what is missing, it becomes blind to what is present. Gratitude reverses that blindness. It forces you to examine your current position with clarity, to see the tools, connections, knowledge, and experiences that can be used to move forward. This awareness alone can change the trajectory of your life because it transforms you from someone waiting for opportunity into someone capable of creating it. Emotional energy is another area where gratitude multiplies advantage. Negative thinking drains your energy, slows your progress, and weakens your resilience. Gratitude does the opposite. It elevates your emotional state, making you more focused, more productive, and more persistent. When you feel strong internally, you act differently externally. You approach challenges with determination instead of hesitation. You maintain consistency instead of giving in to distraction. This is how momentum is built, not through occasional bursts of effort, but through sustained, disciplined action fueled by a stable emotional foundation. You must also understand that gratitude influences how others perceive and respond to you. People are naturally drawn to individuals who carry a sense of appreciation and positivity because it reflects confidence and stability. This does not mean superficial optimism. It means a genuine recognition of value. When you operate from this mindset, your interactions improve, your relationships strengthen, and your ability to influence increases. These are advantages that cannot be measured immediately, but they compound over time and open doors that would otherwise remain closed. Gratitude requires discipline, especially in moments when circumstances are difficult. It is easy to feel thankful when everything is going well. But true strength is demonstrated when you can identify something of value even in challenging situations. This does not mean ignoring problems or pretending that difficulties do not exist. It means refusing to allow those difficulties to dominate your entire perspective. Even in struggle, there is something to learn, something to gain, something that prepares you for what comes next. When you train your mind to find that, you turn every experience into an asset. The practice of gratitude must become consistent if it is to produce lasting results. Occasional acknowledgement will not create transformation. It must be integrated into your daily thinking until it becomes automatic. This is how mental conditioning works. Repetition creates habit, and habit shapes identity. When gratitude becomes part of your identity, your outlook changes permanently. You no longer have to force yourself to see the good because it becomes your natural way of perceiving the world. Advantage in life is rarely about having more. It is about using what you have more effectively. Gratitude enhances your ability to do exactly that. It aligns your thinking with possibility, strengthens your emotional state, and sharpens your awareness of opportunity. These are not small benefits. They are foundational elements of success. Make the decision to train your mind to recognize value in every situation, to appreciate progress no matter how small, and to acknowledge the resources already within your reach. Because the more you practice gratitude, the more advantages you begin to see. And the more advantages you see, the more you are able to create. Mental discipline is the foundation upon which all lasting success is built. And the moment you realize that your ability to control your thoughts determines the quality of your actions, you begin to understand why so many people start strong, yet fail to sustain meaningful progress. Success is not created in moments of excitement. It is forged in moments of control, when distractions arise, when emotions fluctuate, when circumstances become uncertain, and you still choose to remain focused on what must be done. This is where separation occurs, not in talent, not in opportunity, but in the strength of the mind that refuses to drift. The untrained mind seeks comfort, avoids difficulty, and reacts impulsively to external situations. It is easily influenced by fear, easily distracted by pleasure, and easily discouraged by temporary setbacks. Without discipline, it becomes inconsistent, and inconsistency destroys progress. One day it is motivated, the next day it is distracted, and over time, this pattern leads to stagnation. Mental discipline interrupts this cycle. It establishes control over attention, over emotion, and over behavior, ensuring that your actions remain aligned with your goals, regardless of how you feel in the moment. You must understand that feelings are unreliable guides. They change constantly, influenced by circumstances, environment, and internal dialogue. If you rely on motivation alone, your progress will always be unstable. Discipline replaces this instability with structure. It allows you to act with purpose, even when enthusiasm is absent. It teaches you to prioritize long-term results over short-term comfort. This is not easy, but it is necessary. Every significant achievement requires sustained effort, and sustained effort requires a mind that can remain committed beyond temporary emotional states. Mental discipline begins with awareness. You must become conscious of your thoughts, especially the ones that attempt to pull you away from your objectives. Procrastination, doubt, and distraction do not appear randomly. They are patterns that have been reinforced over time. If you do not recognize them, you will continue to repeat them. But once you become aware, you gain the ability to interrupt those patterns. You can question them, redirect them, and replace them with thoughts that support your progress. Control of attention is one of the most powerful aspects of mental discipline. In a world filled with constant distractions, the ability to focus deeply on a single task has become rare and valuable. Every time you allow your attention to be scattered, you weaken your ability to concentrate. Every time you bring it back with intention, you strengthen it. This is a skill that compounds. The more you practice focused attention, the more effective you become, and the more effective you become, the faster you progress. Consistency is the visible result of mental discipline. It is not glamorous, and it often goes unnoticed, but it is the force that turns small efforts into significant outcomes. When you show up every day, when you execute your tasks regardless of your mood, when you maintain your standards even when no one is watching, you create momentum. That momentum builds confidence, and that confidence reinforces further action. This cycle is what produces lasting success. Not occasional bursts of effort, but steady, deliberate progress over time. There will be moments when your discipline is tested. Challenges will arise that tempt you to quit. Distractions will appear that promise immediate satisfaction, and doubts will surface that question your direction. These moments are not obstacles to your success. They are the very conditions that develop it. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you strengthen your character. Every time you stay committed despite difficulty, you reinforce your identity as someone who follows through. Environment also plays a critical role in mental discipline. The people you surround yourself with, the information you consume, and the habits you maintain all influence your thinking. If you expose yourself to negativity, distraction, and low standards, your discipline will weaken. If you align yourself with purpose, clarity, and high expectations, your discipline will strengthen. You must be intentional about what you allow into your mental space, because it shapes the way you think and the way you act. Mental discipline is not about perfection. It is about persistence. You will have moments of weakness, moments where you lose focus or fall short of your expectations. What matters is your ability to recover quickly and return to your path. The disciplined mind does not dwell on mistakes. It learns from them and moves forward. It does not seek excuses. It seeks improvement. This mindset ensures that setbacks do not become permanent failures, but temporary lessons that contribute to growth. As you continue to develop mental discipline, you will notice a shift in your behavior. You will become more intentional with your time, more focused in your efforts, and more resilient in the face of challenges. Decisions that once felt difficult will become automatic because they are aligned with the standards you have established. This is when success begins to stabilize, not as a distant goal, but as a consistent pattern of behavior. Lasting success is not achieved through external circumstances. It is created through internal control. It is the result of a mind that has been trained to remain focused, disciplined, and committed, regardless of what is happening around it. When you master your mind, you master your actions. And when your actions are consistent, your results become inevitable. You now understand that your life is not shaped by chance, but by the direction of your mind. And every principle you have heard is not separate, but deeply connected, forming a single force that determines whether you rise or remain where you are. When you train your mind to notice the good, you begin to take control of your perception. When you control your focus, you gain authority over your emotions. When you practice gratitude, you multiply the advantages already within your reach. And when you develop mental discipline, you ensure that all of this power is applied consistently without interruption. This is the difference between temporary motivation and lasting transformation. Anyone can feel inspired for a moment, but very few choose to take command of their thinking on a daily basis. Very few decide that their mind will no longer operate without direction. Very few commit to the level of awareness and discipline required to reshape their reality from within. But those who do separate themselves permanently because